And welcome to a special sports edition here on Rainier Avenue Radio. I'm your sports director, Rick Dupree, and we're live at the Washington Athletic Club, downtown Seattle, and celebrating 139 years of athletic accomplishments. Seattle Public Schools High School Athletic Hall of Fame ceremony, the 2018 Induction Ceremony, and this is year number 2. The initial was last year, but real quickly, you may ask, how do we get here? And so let's go back a little bit to probably the fall and initial meeting with the Washington Athletic, or I should say Washington Interscholastic Activities Association, WIAA, and Edwin Bailey helped us set up a meeting with John Miller. And we started talking about covering high school sports here on Rainier Avenue Radio. And through the vision of our founder, Tony B., we started doing, I think it was about 3 weeks later, Metro League games at Memorial Stadium. And so that was kind of the start there. And a big thank you. I want to publicly thank Eric McCurdy, the Executive Director of Athletics for Seattle Public Schools. And the WIAA and the Metro League in particular has opened its doors for us here at Rainier Avenue Radio to allow us to bring you live coverage of prep football and basketball as well. And we have just enjoyed our relationship and our partnership with them. And tonight we are excited to bring you, as I said, the 2018 Induction Ceremony, Seattle Public Schools High School Athletic Hall of Fame. And Tony, again, I just think that the relationship, the partnership that we have forged with the Metro League, in particular, Washington Interscholastic Activities Association, WIAA, has really kind of put us on the map and just representing, when we talk about community radio. This is it, the best of it.
We've come a long way.
in a very short time.
In a very short period of time. And no doubt that the relationship that we have with the WIAA and the Metro League is something that helped us do what I think the goal was for all parties involved, which was to bring communities together. And we've been able to do that through sport and through both football and basketball. And the other thing about it is, of course, we give an opportunity for parents and friends and relatives who may not have the opportunity to hear their child or supporter get broadcast and hear that name announced over the radio, just like the NBA players do.
Yeah, and that was one of the things in our initial meeting with WIAA you mentioned, and the opportunity for young people to hear their name on the radio. And, you know, it's interesting you talk about the opportunity for the community, but the community is very large. And I sent you, after we did on Rainier Avenue Radio last Friday, we did the Metro League Girls and Boys Championship games. And I sent Tony and Joyce Walker a text message from a friend of mine who is a Garfield High School graduate, and she lives in Detroit. And through Facebook and through some of our live Instagram or what have you, found out that we were broadcasting and listened to the game. And so now we're being listened to by alums across the nation, in this case Detroit, and she was able to hear the game and hear her alma mater and the fact that they won the Metro Championship. So, I mean, the community is much broader than just the four walls, if you will, of South Seattle.
And I must say, we do an excellent job on our broadcasts, you know, and so you'll be hearing from other members of the team as well today. You know, Edwin Bailey, you know, just the guy is just phenomenal on the air. He's unique in his delivery, and I mean, you know Edwin, so.
Right. Yeah,
so you'll hear more from
just
Edwin.
Instantly, instant connection there. Yeah.
Edwin, and also we have had Joyce Walker, who has done a number of our games as well.
Yeah,
and just a phenomenal talent, and then also exceptional in the way that she explains what's going on, and then she knows all of the players as well and familiar with them. And then, you know, we have our folks who are broadcasting our games, like Mr. Paul Pearson, who does a show on the station called Star Time. And then also John Yasutaki doing color commentary for us as well. And recently, Sage Prince began doing color commentary. Now, I say that to say, because that's the other thing about being a community radio station. These are folks, some of them had a little radio experience. You and I both had radio experience.
Right.
But this has been an opportunity for some folks to gain on-the-job experience, hands-on experience. And that's what we do. And that's what makes us work. That's what makes this radio station tick. We are a volunteer radio program.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about the voice of the community, and that is exactly it. As Tony mentioned, we are hearing from individuals that are in the community, from the community, and giving them an opportunity to be on the air, which is so phenomenal. And again, so we started out this fall and broadcasting Metro League, for the most part, Metro League games, and that went on to the playoffs, and we took you all the way to the state championship down at the Tacoma Dome and had a day full of football on that Saturday, and gave you all of the state championship games. And then we, since January, have been covering Metro League, primarily Metro League basketball, and some great coverage there. And last week, just a lot of fun down at Seattle Pacific University, and gave you the Metro League tournament and, again, the Metro League championship games. The girls, Cleveland was a winner over Seattle Prep, and then the boys, Garfield, a winner over Rainier Beach. And join us this Saturday. We'll be at Bellevue College, and we will give you the entire Sea King District games, and they are playing tonight. And so loser out games tonight, and see what the seeding will be. But we'll bring you a basketball all day Saturday, right here live on Rainier Avenue Radio, live from Bellevue College, starting at about 11:30, and we'll have 3 of the girls' games and 3 of the boys' games, culminating with the boys' championship at, I believe it's 6:30, and then the girls' championship following that game as well. Again, that'll be live on Rainier Avenue Radio, live from Bellevue College. But if you just joined us, I'm Rick Dupree, and we are live at the Washington Athletic Club. It is the Seattle Public Schools High School Athletic Hall of Fame ceremony, and we are getting set up. We are in the VIP room, and shortly we'll go over kind of what to expect for tonight, and also identify some of the honorees. I'm looking around, and people are starting to show up. I see that the beautiful Tara Davis has showed up, and she will be one of many that is honored this evening, and someone else who played an integral part in getting us in the door. She is in the athletic office for Seattle Public Schools and Metro League, and was an integral part of connecting us with the executive director there, Eric McCurdy, and his team, part of his team. But Tony, again, I can't thank them enough publicly, and talk about that partnership and what it's meant for us as a radio station. But as you mentioned a moment ago, what it's meant for those local individuals in the community that maybe didn't have radio experience, but now they're getting an opportunity to see what it feels like to broadcast a game, to do play-by-play or color, or to host a show. And but partnerships like this, giving us that content and truly representing the community.
Yeah, and in addition to that, as you know, we also have training programs. We've got programs in schools, because that's the other thing about this, is that if you're going to do this type of thing, then in order for it to continue and to be sustainable, then you have to train the community up as well. And so we have adult training programs, we have youth training programs, we have internships, which you obviously know about, Mr. Dupree.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll plug that a little bit, if you will. I manage the internship program. It's called the Senior Project Program at Seattle Academy. And so all of our seniors, the last 5 weeks of school, they are essentially finished with school, finished with class, and they go out and do a 25-hour-a-week internship. And so we had a beautiful young lady by the name of Peyton Blackmer last year, who was the first intern from Seattle Academy for Rainier Avenue Radio. Already have a couple of students, I believe, that are interested. So we'll be sending them your way, Mr. B, Tony B, and you can make a decision. But yeah. But that I mean, and that's what it's about. You mentioned, I mean, giving individuals an opportunity in this situation with the internships for young people that say, hey, I think I want to have a career in this field, and it's career exploration. They can see what it's like. And
I have to shine a light on our very own James Gertie, aka James Street, who
yes,
came
sir.
in and looking for opportunities to take advantage of, and has just grown. And he's here now behind the scenes all the time. We know he's here. We know he's here early. He's here late. He also does a program now that airs after dark.
Yeah, after
hour program.
It's not just after dark. It's after hours.
After hours program. And I was going to ask you, James, are we live now on Facebook? Okay, so if you go to our Facebook page. Yeah, we're right here.
Yeah.
So if you go to our Facebook page, you'll be able to see and hear this broadcast as well. And there's Mr. McCurdy.
Yes, sir.
Right
Eric
there.
McCurdy was just singing his praises, and he has joined us live here, and we'll get him on the air as well. and want to recognize a number of individuals that are here with us this evening.
Okay, Rick. Well, again, let's not forget we're on camera. Or you're,
okay.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. Face the camera. Huh? Well, I'm trying to face the action and see who's here, and kind of see what's going on. So, Tony, why don't I do this? I'm gonna start to run down and let our listeners know who are some of the honorees are this evening, and then we'll start to get them. I see some of the honorees are beginning to arrive, and as I mentioned, Tara Davis is in the house. Also, I see Mario Bailey over being interviewed. And, of course, we have Eric McCurdy. Eric McCurdy is the Executive Director of Athletics for the Seattle Public Schools. And we'll be getting them in a moment. And so let me do this. Let me do this real quickly. I'm going to run down who the honorees are. And also, tonight's event is going to be emceed by Karen Bryant. And many of you remember Karen, an integral part of women's basketball here in the Seattle area. First in the ABL with Seattle Reign, and most recently with the Seattle Storm of the WNBA, and recently retired a couple of years ago as the president of that organization. So of the inductees, and let me just quickly, I will tell you who they are, and then we're going to go into more detail in a little while and give you their bios and more information on them. But and kind of alphabetically, look at Debbie Armstrong from Garfield High School in 1981. And I'm going to throw my glasses on here so I can make sure that I am seeing this well and not making a mistake on anything. But Debbie Armstrong at Garfield from 1981. Mario Bailey, graduate of Franklin High School back in 1988. Don Coryell. A lot of people don't realize that Don Coryell, if you remember Don Coryell from the San Diego Chargers and Air Coryell, but he was a 1943 graduate of Lincoln of Tacoma. Lincoln. Oh, actually, no. Check that. I'm sorry. Lincoln. Remember the Lincoln High School, which is coming back in Seattle, and so he's a 1943 graduate of Lincoln. Many of you know this next guy, and he can't be here this evening because he's working, and he works for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that would be Jamal Crawford, 1999 Rainier Beach High grad. And we mentioned Tara Davis, and Tara is a 1990 graduate of Rainier Beach High School as well. And she is on hand and also a member of Eric McCurdy's team down in the Seattle Public Schools Metro League athletic office. Corey Dillon, Franklin High School in 1993, and many remember Corey not only at Franklin was just a dominant running back, but then at the University of Washington and had a phenomenal short career there and then a great career in the NFL. And let's turn the page here and we'll give you the others. Carl Ervin, and many remember Irv, 1976 grad of Cleveland High School, and just a tremendous point guard, went on to Seattle University. And we miss Carl, passed away, succumbed to cancer a few years ago. 1976 Garfield grad Bruce Harrell on the Seattle City Council, and also the president of the Seattle City Council. And so Bruce being honored as well. And if you remember, Bruce was a great linebacker, and also a lot of people don't remember this about Bruce, but Bruce was the valedictorian at Garfield High School, went on to be a distinguished attorney before joining the city council with the city of Seattle, and also was a member of that Garfield team. I believe it was the 75-76 team that played Blanchette, which many feel same 4 overtimes. Blanchette won it, and Bruce, and then Joe Steele, who was the big name for Blanchette. Blanchette won the game. Bruce and Joe Steele became teammates at the University of Washington. But many, I remember, I was at that game. I was, I believe, an 8th grader at the time, and one of the standing room only at Memorial Stadium, and what many feel was the greatest high school football. And John said, y'all started saying, yeah, it is the greatest. 1966 Ballard High School grad George Irvine, and many may not recognize the name, but a great basketball player, and great career in the ABA, and 25-year career in the NBA as a coach, scout, and executive. And so George passed away a little over a year ago. The next inductee, Sheila Lambert, one of the best basketball players to come out of the state, 1998 graduate of Chief Sealth High School. And when I say one of the best basketball players, I'm not distinguishing saying one of the best females, saying one of the best basketball players, as well as Joyce Walker, one of the great basketball players to come out of the state of Washington and the city of Seattle, to be exact. 1969, Franklin High School grad, one Terry Metcalf. Terry Metcalf, one of the greatest all-around football players to come out of the Seattle area, and obviously the father of Eric Metcalf, who went on to have a tremendous career, most notably with the Cleveland Browns, but a number of other teams. And if you weren't aware, Terry's grandson, Mekhi Metcalf, we called his name quite a few times this year in football. He was a receiver for the Garfield Bulldogs and headed to Montana State. And so congratulations to him. But Terry Metcalf, another one of the inductees. The great Bill North, a 1966 grad of Garfield High School. And so Bill went on to win a World Series with the Oakland A's and has a World Series ring. So Bill being honored. Sammy Wright from Lincoln High School back in 1945. And being honored as well. And then the final honoree of the night, again, giving you these names in alphabetical order, Bill Wright, 1954 grad from Franklin High School, both basketball and golf. But we'll talk more about Bill. But if you are a golfer and golf up at Jefferson, you've seen Bill's picture on the wall and bio and information about him. And so Bill, one of the first and greatest African-American golfers to come out of the Seattle area, again in 1954, graduate of Garfield High School. So those are the honorees. And again, if you just joined us, I'm Rick Dupree, joined with by Tony B. We have John Yasutake from Here and Now. Paul Pearson will join us as well. And we are here live at the Seattle Public Schools High School Athletic Hall of Fame, the 2018 Induction Ceremony. We're live at the hey, there you are, Tony. We're live at the Washington Athletic Club.
Rick, I'm kind of breaking in on you right now.
Go ahead. You're the man.
I'm going to bring in Amy Singh, and we're going to do an interview.
All right.
So I'm going to get her right here.
All right.
And if we can get her squared away.
We have a mic that works for Amy. There we go. And
all right, for those of you who are listening, we're about to begin an interview process. And for those of you who have joined us on Facebook, then you see that there is now someone standing here. And there we go. So this is our visual, and but we're on the radio too. But we're encouraging people now to also go to our Facebook page, and so just kind of easily see what we're doing here.
Super.
So joining me on RainierAvenueRadio.World, our live broadcast from the Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony, is Ms. Amy Singh. How are you doing?
Great. How are you doing tonight?
I'm excellent. Fantastic. It's great being here. So folks can kind of see the backdrop of what's going on here. And this is where, the medals are on the table right there too. You kind of see the medals right there on the table. Okay, now you got your headphones on and we're all set to go. So come back over here now. We just showed the medal and we're going to stay here. So Amy, you played a very key and important role. 139 years of history we have here, but not until recently was there something that acknowledged the accomplishments of the student athletes who've come through the Metro League. So why don't you share with us what your role has been in this process?
So I was one of the people that worked with Dick Lee to actually first put pen to paper with the idea that we should form an organization or some sort of recognition of all of the years of fabulous athletes who've come out of Seattle Public Schools. And, many of the...
One of the founders.
I'm one of the charter members.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's a big deal. Like I said, that's what we're here for. We're here to let you know people who accomplish things behind the scenes, but make things happen. It's very critical to doing that. So congratulations on your success. Now keep going. I just giving you what we call some big ups.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it was, it takes a village to pull something like this together. And I think that, when my kids were at Ingram High School playing athletics, it was really clear that with dwindling finances and monies coming from the district, we needed to do things to supplement that. So with Dick's help, I established an athletic booster club, parent organization to help with that. And that kind of led to my interest in other athletic programs that were within the city. And that's how this all sort of started to unfold. And I, through Dick, met Eric, and the rest just kind of organically grew.
Well, something like this doesn't just happen. And we were talking about your role in developing the bylaws and governance and those types of things. Did you have something to work off of, a template? Were there other districts that had something like this? That's the stuff that people, it has to be there. In order for this type of thing to exist, those types of things have to take place first.
Right.
So how did you develop that?
So Dick did a lot of the research. Eric actually had a lot of information about other universities and organizations that had Hall of Fames, whether it be for athletes or something else. So they were able to pull together a group of people, a very diverse group of people, many of whom had attended either University of Washington or Seattle University, and those schools have athletic Hall of Fame. So we were able to get their bylaws and charters and really read through all of the things like establishing the criteria for selection, creating the selection committees, what were the criteria for being on the selection committee, what were the duration of terms if you were going to be on the selection committee, so that you didn't get stale, right? So all of those things, as you had said earlier, are not very sexy, but they're critical pieces to get put in place. And then we had a couple of attorneys who helped us with sort of making sure all the legal aspects of what we were putting together. We pulled it together in about 15 months from the first meeting that we had, where we sat down and said, is this going to be a good idea? Can we pull it off? To when we had our first induction ceremony last February. So,
and inducting 22, I believe it was?
Correct.
That first time?
Yeah.
And then 14 this year.
Right.
And so at this point, what are you feeling about this whole process? And I mean, in the big picture of it, when you get 139 years, that's a lot of athletes, and so I think this is, I don't want to say overdue because I wasn't thinking about it until it happened, but it is wonderful that it is here now. So what are you getting now for the feeling that you have as we enter the second year? What are you most proud of? And again, having gone through the process of creating what it takes to make this sustainable so that there can be a 1 and a 2 and a 3. And then historically, this will be something that we'll be able to look back at. Tell me about what it is that in year 2 really has you excited about the second annual Metro League Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Yes. So I think one of the things that makes me so excited is knowing how many more athletes are going to be inducted in the coming years. The research that we've done to, first get the initial list, which we started with, I think, 150 athletes, going all the way back to year 1.
Got a lot of ground to make up.
A lot of ground. And there's been some incredibly accomplished athletes and people, who were student athletes. And that's what's really exciting. And also just hearing what people have done with their lives beyond high school athletics, which has been very cool. Not everybody has gone on to win an Olympic gold medal, which fortunately I'm doing the presentation for Debbie Armstrong tonight. I'm very excited about that. I'm really excited about that.
Yes. As the Winter Olympics are taking place as we speak.
Yes. And it was 34 years ago yesterday that she won her
Wow.
gold medal.
I remember that too, yeah.
In
Very
giant
well.
slalom. And last night, Michaela Schifrin won
Yes.
the gold medal
Right.
in giant slalom. So
And Garfield is the school that she went to.
Garfield.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
1981 grad.
She's
yeah.
a bulldog.
Yeah.
So
Amy, talk a little bit, and we're talking with Amy Singh, who one of the people behind the scenes to make tonight in this Hall of Fame ceremony a reality. Talk about some of the criteria. Were you just looking at what their accomplishments were during high school here, or is some of the things that they have done after also factored in?
certainly some of the things they've done after, with a real focus on what they've done outside of athletics. So many of the honorees have gone on to be, key people in their communities. They've set up nonprofits. One of the things that Debbie Armstrong has done has been involved with the Sarajevo Relief, as an LEAF initiative, which is to help reforest all of the lands in Sarajevo after the Bosnian War. So, I mean, it's things like that.
I'm just going to give a quick resume on Debbie Armstrong.
And Tony, I would say this. I mean, and that resonates with her because that's where she won her gold medal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for those who may be unfamiliar, Debbie Armstrong, as Rick said, is a Garfield High 1981 graduate. She participated in basketball, skiing, soccer, tennis, volleyball, lettered in basketball, volley, tennis, and soccer for the Lady Bulldogs, won the Metro Basketball Championship as a freshman, and later the state basketball title as a
junior.
sophomore.
Oh, probably as a junior as well, 1980.
Earned Most Valuable Player honors in soccer. She was a member of the U.S. ski team, completed in 3 International Ski Federation World Championships, won a gold medal in the giant slalom, and won the National Women's Giant Slalom Champion in 1987. And, there's more I can say. I just want, because you're introducing her.
Yes.
And so I just wanted to give our audience some background about the phenomenal student athletes that we're talking about, that now, because we have this, we get the opportunity to go back and reflect and remember folks in our community.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is wonderful. Thank you for being. We're not done yet.
And
I'm just saying thank you for doing, like I call the dirty work.
They're rolling the sleeves up behind the scenes. And how did you? Was this something you wanted? How did you get the honor of being able to introduce Debbie?
Dick asked me if I'd be interested, and never one to pass up an opportunity to be in front of a microphone. No, not really. It was an honor to be asked to do her presentation.
Right, absolutely.
So, I'm sorry she can't be here, but I'm thrilled that her parents are here to accept it on her behalf. She does still come up here frequently. Her family still lives here. So, she still has strong ties to the region, which is great.
Awesome. Well, Amy, just in case we've missed anything, I want to give you the opportunity for some final words. But so what are you up to these days? Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, maybe what your hobbies are.
Oh, my hobbies. So, I am an avid golfer. I'm involved with the First Tee program, which is a golf program to really encourage and coach inner city golf for kids. And I'm very involved with the girls golf program there. I'm committed to athletics as being a very strong and important component of all children's experience growing up, all the way through high school and beyond, if possible. I'm also on the board of the Puget Sound Komen. I'm on the executive committee and very involved with awareness, outreach, education, screening for breast cancer, particularly focused on disparities in healthcare and healthcare delivery.
Wow. You're this.
Yeah, keeping it very busy.
This is a busy person.
Got a lot going on.
Yeah. So I'm an oncologist by background, but I am retired now and doing things that have a passion for and bring me joy.
Maybe retired, but you're doing more than you were doing as you were working, huh?
So it actually is true.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did all this stuff when I was working full time, but it energizes me and never wake up bored.
Yeah, and that's a great message for young people as well. Being able to do something that you're passionate about, that you enjoy, is so important.
Absolutely.
So, anything you'd like to say now to our audience, our audience on the radio, our Facebook audience, as we continue broadcasting here live from the VIP reception, the VIP reception.
Yes. This is the
pre-VIP reception to everybody listening, right? And folks are listening to us from all over the world, actually.
Oh.
Yes.
Just, athletics and physical health is as important as mental health, and support Seattle Public Schools.
Absolutely. We're all products of Seattle Public Schools here.
Franklin Quaker.
Yeah.
Franklin Quaker.
Ingram Ram.
Ingram. My kids went to Ingram.
What year? Was it?
Let's see. My older son graduated in 2008, and my younger son in 2011.
Nice. Okay.
So, baseball players.
Okay. Long before I was there. Long before them. But, no, great. That's good.
You and the Gov.
Yes. I actually went to high school with his younger brother.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Todd Inslee.
Okay.
So we were classmates.
Wow.
Yes, indeed.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, and thanks for doing what you do for the induction ceremony. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
It's very exciting.
We're broadcasting it this year. This year it's going viral.
Excellent. We have some wonderful inductees this year.
Yeah.
We really do. Yeah. We went over the list, and we'll highlight all of them here this evening. But thank you so much.
Thank you
for making this a reality. Absolutely. So again, if you just joined us, we're broadcasting live from the Washington Athletic Club, and we are bringing you the Seattle Public Schools Metro League Athletic Hall of Fame ceremonies, and year number 2 with the inductees. And 14 inductees this year. Started out last year with 22, and I'm looking around the room and seeing a number of the inductees beginning to show up as well. And so that is a wonderful thing, and we're excited to have all of them here joining us. I think I'm going to check with Tony B, but I think we're going to start pulling some of the inductees, I hope, over. As I mentioned, see, I'd love to get Eric McCurdy over here. Maybe we can get. Can we get Eric McCurdy on? I'm getting his attention here, and we're going to try to grab Eric McCurdy.
Debbie Armstrong.
Oh well, before we do that, okay, yes, we will go with the Armstrongs here, and welcome to Rainier Avenue Radio. We are live on the radio as well as live on our Facebook. And so, first off, congratulations! You must be awfully proud of your daughter. Not only the accomplishments we'll talk about in a moment, but the fact that she is being recognized here in this Hall of Fame ceremony.
Really? Yeah, this is amazing. After 125 years, we're delighted. She's delighted that she's in the second class.
Yes, yeah.
And it's time for that kind of a program in Seattle.
Absolutely.
Well, she's sorry that she couldn't be here, but she's coaching skiing. She's still involved with skiing.
So tell us what she's doing now and where she's at, and you're here obviously representing her this evening.
Yeah. Well, she is living in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and she's been the Alpine director of skiing there, and that's kind of her dream job. Coaching kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what are the age ranges of kids that she's working with?
Juniors, I would say the age of 6 or 7 up through teenagers.
Wow, yeah.
And they've turned out some great ski racers. And they have quite a program there.
Yeah. Now, looking back on her career, at what point did she start? And what point did she start skiing, number 1?
She started skiing at 2 or 3.
Wow.
It's kind of hard to know just what to call it.
Yeah.
2 or 3.
Yeah. And at what point did you, as parents, take a look at one another and say, Okay, we got something special here.
Well, I don't think we ever did, but we had a good friend who was more experienced in the ski world than we. When Debbie was about 11 or 12, and he said, she's going to be on the national team.
Wow.
So she was a good skier by a young teenager.
Yeah, if she wants to work for it, well, she's going to make the national team. We never told her that, and she just made different choices. But when she was at Garfield, she was an all-around athlete.
Right, yeah.
And,
I remember. Soccer, basketball.
Yeah,
she did
you're right.
it all. Yeah.
She did.
And that, I mean, I think that says something, is it whether you specialize or not, but the fact that she was passionate about what she did and was able to be involved in all of those other activities as well, but really shined in skiing.
Yeah. But she has said recently that she never thought of herself as a skier. She thought of herself as an all-round athlete. And of course, at Garfield, she was.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Garfield had no skiing.
Right.
But while she was playing Garfield sports, freshman through, for 4 years, she was training every day up at Alpental for skiing at the same time. So she kind of had best of both worlds, and then had to make a choice and went for skiing.
Well,
she wasn't big enough to be a basketball player.
well, I think the choice to go skiing, and if you just joined us, you're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio live at the Washington Athletic Club, and one of the inductees this evening, Debbie Armstrong, 1984 Olympic, 81 graduate from Garfield, 84 Olympic gold medalist, and we're visiting with her parents here. And can you think back to that time when she was in Sarajevo and at the Olympics? What went through your minds as you saw her going down in the giant slalom and she went across and you realized that she's going to win a gold medal? I mean, what was that like as parents? I have 2 kids, and I know when their accomplishments, the pride that I feel. But talk about, just for both of you, kind of what was going through your minds and the feeling, if you can express that, back when that occurred.
Well, it was amazing because we always would watch her skiing, and we were happy about whatever she did, but somehow we didn't really realize the significance of this. I mean, well, this is exciting. She's won a gold medal, but we really got excited when that evening ABC had us come into their studios, and we saw our neighbors, and we saw Emmett
on the video,
Emmett McWashington, the principal at Garfield, and all kinds of people. We thought, I mean, this is bigger than us. Yeah. But at first it was, wow, this is something. But we didn't really realize how great it was until we had to experience it for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Needed to absorb it a bit. And
as a dad, I mean, I think I have a daughter, and I know as a father in particular, there's that special bond oftentimes between a father and his baby girl. Was it a special moment for you as well?
Oh, it was a special moment. I don't know that it was any more special than it would have been if her brother had been doing it. I don't think so. But it was profound.
Yeah.
It's always
absolutely.
a surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, we were caught by surprise, even though we knew how good she was. Maybe not how good she was. We knew she was good.
Yeah.
World class.
Right.
But she won a gold medal.
And when we got there, she said, "I am feeling so great. This course is for me."
Wow.
And she bet her coach $50 that she would medal.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think he ever paid.
Really? Well, we're going to go find him and get that $50. Oh, that's a great story. But yeah, just I can remember, again, I was a class of 80, but knew a number of people at Garfield. My mother actually was a 1945 graduate of Garfield, so a lot of ties at Garfield. And can remember just for us as Seattleites, the pride that we felt, and I know that I felt, not knowing Debbie, but knowing who she was, following her career, and to see her represent Garfield High School in Seattle and the state of Washington. And so it was a great feeling. So I just want you to know that for those of us that maybe not even knew her, but the pride that we felt with her accomplishment.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear.
That was right. We had all kinds of stories. I think it came on the radio at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and everyone just, her coaches up at Alpental and different people, they couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was exciting.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for taking time. Again, congratulations representing Debbie here this evening. And just a great event. And we're so happy that the Seattle Public Schools recognizing well-deserved athletes and for their accomplishments. And as we heard a little bit earlier, not only what they've accomplished on the field, if you will, during their high school careers, but also life after high school and the things they've done as well. One last question I asked for both of you. You talked a little bit about what Debbie's doing in coaching. Some of the other things that she's doing now, and some of the things that have taken some of her time.
Well, she became the ambassador of skiing at Taos, and went on to become a professional ski instructor as well, not only just a ski racer, but other things she's done. She did a lot of charitable things in Seattle once she won her medal, and worked with Ski for All and different foundations and that kind of thing. She has a 11-year-old daughter.
Wow.
And
following mom's footsteps, or
she's a good skier.
Okay.
So she's a good skier.
And that's exciting. And
she was doing or is doing some work with the environment in Sarajevo as well. Again.
Well, that's right. American Forests in Washington, D.C. asked her to be their honorary chairperson to fundraise for reforestation in Sarajevo, and she did that fundraising for them, and then went back to Sarajevo after all the war and everything, and was able to see Sarajevo after the war.
Wow, yeah, and what an experience that had to be, coming back after all of those years, and especially after the war.
She has done a lot of charitable kinds of things, and she has speaking engagements, and I don't know what else, but
well, that's a lot.
That kind of She's been pretty active in that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, again, I want to say thank you for joining us here on Rainier Avenue Radio, and congratulations, and all the best to you.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Yes, appreciate it.
Great night.
Yes, absolutely. So again, you're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio, and again, those were the parents of Debbie Armstrong, one of the inductees that we will honor this evening. And unfortunately, Debbie can't be here in Seattle at the ceremony tonight, but will be obviously recognized. And I'm looking to my left here, and a gentleman who I've known for years, actually went to junior high school with his boys. And I'm looking on the program here, and it looks like if I can see it, it looks like he's going to introduce or present Bill Wright. But that is Ernie Dunstan joining us, and I'm going to give Ernie give you a mic here. And first of all, welcome to Rainier Avenue Radio. How you doing this evening?
Good. I'm doing well. Yeah. And I just got a rundown on you at Rainier Avenue Radio.
Okay.
Sounds like a good venture.
Yeah. Tony great. B. I mean, we're excited. And one of the unique things about Rainier Avenue Radio and what we do is it's a community station.
Right.
And so most of the people on the air, not necessarily having a radio background, but it's the community, representing the community and by the community, community voice. So we're excited to be here. And for those of you that may not be familiar with Ernie Dunstan, a great basketball player at Seattle University, went on with the Detroit Pistons, and has just been a community pillar here in Seattle. So glad you can join us.
Thank you for being here. Very nice of you.
Yeah. And we go back, obviously, our involvement with Boys and Girls Clubs. But as I mentioned earlier, earlier, went to junior high school with your sons. Yeah. So it's really good to see. Now, talk about your involvement here tonight, and not only your involvement, but Ernie, talk about how important it is for a ceremony like this to be in place, recognizing the great athletes that we've had.
Well, first of all, when I first heard about this from Ervin McCurdy, I thought it was a great idea, and I wonder why it hadn't been done before now. When you think about all of the great athletes that have come through this city, but after talking to him and kind of wondering why it hasn't done before now, when I went back to my hometown last year, I started asking around in Washington D.C., and it hasn't been done there. I'm saying, well, God, it just seems like a natural thing to do, to recognize the great athletes that played for the various teams in the high schools.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this is just the second induction we're having, but I think that it's going to be it's going to be something that's going to be really well received by the community, by the public, and everybody I talked to about it. They start dropping names to me. They find out I'm on the committee.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at 139 years, and we have had. I mean, people don't realize, like Don Coryell, for example, who's being honored. I don't think a lot of people realize that if you're a football fan, like I, am and played football, who Don Coryell, Coryell, but the fact that he went to Lincoln High School and a local guy, and so there are so many, as you said, athletes, not only that have been great athletes at the high school level, gone on to college or pros, but then done so many other things with their lives as well.
Very well. Yeah.
So that's great to recognize it. So talk about in addition to being on the committee, and talk about the role on the committee. What does that entail?
Well, we review all the candidates for induction, and then we try and we decide how many we want to get on the list, and then we have a lot of give and take between each other, sort of a lot of politicking going on about why this person should be there and why other person shouldn't. But I think what we end up with, we have a really good process for cornering it down and getting the people that should be there at this time. And again, once you're nominated, it doesn't mean that that's it for you if you don't get on. That's still the next the following years coming up that you have a chance.
So, Ernie, we talked to Amy Singh a little bit earlier, and she talked about some of the criteria. And not only, again, as I mentioned, if you can talk a little bit more about that, not only what the athletes accomplished as prep athletes here in Seattle, but other factors that you as a committee member and the committee as a whole take a look at.
Well, I think the thing that we look at also is what kind of role model has this person been since the high school career? Because high school, you leave high school, you haven't really accomplished much yet. There's a lot more that you can do, and we look at those who have taken whatever celebrity they had as athletes in high school, and they've gone on to college. Some of them have gone on to professional careers. Others have gone into business and different careers like that. So we just look at what you've done, after high school and how you've impacted your community. And that's really kind of one of the main criteria that we look at.
Now, I know I'm just jumping in here, so I might have missed this. But have you talked yet about your accomplishments as a student athlete? Because I know we forgot to talk.
Not yet. I just mentioned that at Seattle U grade and Detroit Piston, but there's a lot more.
That's what I wanted to, because I wanted to make sure we got that in, because the last person we had, little did we know that Amy we talked to was an outstanding golfer and skier. And she didn't let on. She didn't let on. So in high school, as a student athlete, what are the things that you were most proud of that you were able to accomplish?
Well, in high school, I came from a place where, basketball was really important because we had a great role model to follow in Elgin Baylor. We went to the same high school that Elgin went to back in Washington, D.C., Spingarn on high school. And Elgin came out to Seattle, and he brought a couple of his teammates with him. And then Seattle University began to look back at D.C. and look to see who else is coming out up through the pipeline, and they kind of grabbed me. They grabbed John Tresvant, and and so that's kind of the way we got out here. But in high school, I never thought about playing college ball until my senior year.
Your senior year.
My senior year, you know.
Because
I was playing for fun, and you know, and scholarships during that time, that was a big thing. And I figured, well, you know, if I'm good in high school, then you know maybe I can do something. But I didn't know how far we'd be able to go. But then when I began to get letters from schools and offers, and my coach began to say, well, you know, you measure up there with kids who are going to some major colleges. See, and during that time, too, we didn't look that much at the major colleges because being black athletes, we were looking at the black colleges in the South.
Right.
And so that's where my recruitment, you know, Howard University, North Carolina A&T. So, you know, we didn't think about, you know, going to, you know, like we used to go to University of Maryland and watch the ACC teams play, all white players, and we look at the Cole Fieldhouse and say, God, this is what college is all about, you know. But we didn't have the idea that one day, you know, we could be out there playing on that court, you know.
Ernie, along those lines, I mean, at what point did it start to become a reality? You said senior year is when you started thinking, you know, really beyond. But what point in terms of that shift, as you talk about, because it's a huge shift in our country, and the fact that now black athletes were being recruited at the white schools and at major colleges, and finding out. I mean, many people have seen the movie Glory Road and see how you know was gave them their single loss that year. But at what point?
And it's no longer taking until the senior year.
Right.
It's younger and younger and younger.
Oh yeah, really. You're going right down to grade school now. You know, kids are preparing themselves to go to college, and parents are working with kids to get them qualified to go to college.
Our guest is. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say our guest is Ernie Dunston here on Rainier Avenue Radio, and you're talking about parents getting those kids prepared.
Yeah. And I think it's you know, when you look at what's happening now with the various AAU programs, the AAU coaches are taking the place of the high school coaches when it comes to getting a kid in college. You know. And so that's probably some positive things about that, but I think there's also a lot of negatives about that too. You know,
we've been talking about. I host a show called One on One with Dupe on Rainier Avenue Radio, but one of the things we've been talking about and looking at, and I want to get your take on it. You look at the NCAA, and I've heard comments from people saying, "Well, you know, it's really not our job to get these kids ready for professional sports." Yeah. But when you stop and take a step back, and I've come 180 degrees on this, is like, well, what is the purpose of college? And the purpose of college is to prepare students for a professional career.
For the future.
Right,
for the successful future.
Exactly. And so my question to you, Ernie, is this. I want to get your take on it. Is that at what point can we get the NCAA to really take a step back and say, wait a minute, okay, stop running away from the issue that, hey, these guys, if it's the one and dones or whatever, there are guys that are getting ready for the pros. And so what are the things we need to do to get them ready, whether it's financial management and things? Let's not act like it doesn't exist. I mean, you look at the arts, for example, they have conservatories. Well, what about a sports conservatory, so to speak, where there's a specific curriculum getting these guys ready for what they're going to face?
You can say it, but they are getting athletes. Tell me you're not going to Kentucky and you're not preparing yourself for the NBA. Come on. Tell me you're not.
Yeah.
That is what's happening.
Yeah, and for me, the hypocrisy is that the NCAA, these schools are making millions. I mean, you look at Louisville, and we won't go into a lot of detail, but with Rick Pitino, and word is that the Adidas contract that they had, Rick Pitino was pocketing 95% of that deal.
Yep.
You know, so again, I guess, Ernie, the question is, I mean, at what point do we embrace reality and say, you know what, it's a reality that these young men are like you said, from grade school, they're being groomed, parents are expecting. When do we start preparing them to take on this type of career, professional career?
Well, you know, it's just a matter of the NCAA being realistic about how they're treating different sports. You know, and I think, you know, you hear a lot of discussion about basketball players, the one and done, and being paid. But then you got other sports where the kids are coming out of high school and they're being paid
Yeah.
And they're still going to school, you know.
Right.
But so, you know, it's just, you just got to treat it all the same. You know? You really do.
No, absolutely. Good point.
Yeah.
One last question for you. So tonight you're here and you have the pleasure of introducing Bill Wright.
Wright.
And talk a little bit about Bill and what it means to you to be the person introducing him.
Well, it's a real honor for me to make the presentation for Bill Wright. Bill's not doing well right now, and he can't be up here from L.A. But one of his very dear friends is here to accept his award. You know, Bill was a professional golfer, and he had a couple of buddies here that he played golf with all the time. Jim Lydell was one of them, and so Joni Lydell, Jim Lydell's widow, is going to accept the award for Bill. But when I first met Bill, Bill was a basketball player. And he used to come down and play in the old gym at Seattle U. And so I just knew Bill as a basketball player. And then I found out, that how he could hit the golf ball. And I was shocked, because, so he was really proficient as a basketball player. At Franklin, he did well.
Yeah. And I speak because I am an avid golfer, not very good, I might add. However, my home course, I'm 5 minutes away, is Jefferson. And Bill is recognized, and that's how I, years ago when I started golfing, found out who he was. And I think, if not the first, one of the first African American golfers, especially out of this area, to make it at the professional level and accomplish what he accomplished. And a wonderful story.
Well, he's one of the first African Americans to make it on the tour, not just from this area, period. Because, there was no African Americans on the tour.
No, good point.
So he was a pioneer in that way.
I mean, him with Charlie Sifford and others.
All the
elder guys.
All in that same category, same age range.
Absolutely. Well, Ernie Dustin, thank you. Good to see you as always, and
good talking.
Nice to have you here. And thank you for being a part of this induction ceremony and being a member on that committee and making sure that we are recognizing well-deserved recognizing athletes from the area.
It's quite an honor to be a part of it. Great.
Thank you very much.
Good talk. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Ernie Dustin joining us here on Rainier Avenue Radio. Again, if you just joined us, we're live at the Washington Athletic Club, and we are at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, the 2018 induction ceremony, and there are 14 athletes that are being recognized. And Bill North, how you doing, sir? We're going to get you on there in a little bit. Good to see you. Congratulations, sir. And yes, and we are joined by Monty. And how are you? Good. Let's give Monty a mic. And Monty, share with us. We haven't been using those too much, but we're okay without the headphones. So, Monty, tell us your role here this evening.
We're just I'm from O'Day High School and part of the Metro League, and we're here supporting the Seattle Public Schools and this great event that they have going on. So myself, I'm the athletic director at O'Day High School. Our principal, Jim Walker, will be here as well. And, we're all kind of in this together in the city, and it's it's an honor to be a part of this.
Well, and they didn't say it with Monty Kohler, who also one of the O'Day football program and has had a tremendous career as coach of the football program. And again, congratulations this year with a state championship.
Thank you. It was quite an honor to be a part of that. As you know, 3 Metro schools were in the Final Four and 2 in the state championship. So again, I think that's good for all of us.
It was such a joy. I was at Ingram High School in 1980, and so my junior year we were represented. We were in the state championship, King Bowl 2 against Snohomish. Unfortunately, lost to Snohomish. But for to see this resurgence of Metro League football, Monty, was just incredible and such pride for us, because for years I've been saying, a lot of our talent out of the inner city, the city of Seattle, has been taken, and away, and now we're seeing this resurgence. Especially, it's been here in basketball for a while, but for football, talk a little bit about some of the reasons and some of the things behind, in your opinion, why we have seen this resurgence over the last couple of years with Metro League football in particular.
Well, I think a couple things. One, it starts at the top. I think Eric McCurdy has put some emphasis on making all of the league better. And then obviously bringing the Seattle schools up. And so he's put some resources there. And Pat McCurdy, those guys Pat McCarthy has done a great job in doing all of that. And then coaching. I think they've got in some guys that, are city guys and just, have a love for the game of football and love for where they're at, and, some consistency there. And again, anytime you kind of get that and some support from up above, you got a formula for some success. So they've done a great job. And like I said, it starts at the top. I'm sure it starts with the superintendent on down, but my level is Mr. McCurdy, and he does a fantastic job.
Well, Monty, you have had tremendous success at O'Day, and can you talk a little bit about your philosophy and some of the reasons behind the success that you've continued to have there for the Fighting Irish?
Well, I think, you create a culture that kind of just continues to grow, and kids that work hard. Obviously, we've had tremendous athletes over the years, but we've also, our program is really made up of kids that just come in and want to work hard. And, like I was kind of saying, we have coaches and we have consistency, and they're kind of getting the same message in the classroom, getting the same message on the field, and hard work is important. So it starts with hard work, and that's where, that's kind of what we do. And there's a discipline factor that we still believe in, and it just makes us a better culture that we have created. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, no, you've had tremendous success. One of my former coach, my college coach, is on your staff, and Al Roberts, and someone who you talk about a motivator. And so I
want to be like Al.
Yeah, really.
70 years old,
young, really, exactly. Yeah, and has more energy than all of us combined. But you talk about coaching and bringing in quality coaches, and that is a huge piece of it. And for you to have a guy in Al Roberts who not only success as a high school coach at Garfield, but then University of Washington at the professional level, and now recommitting and giving his focus, his time, his energy back at the high school level, and that, just as you said, has to raise and elevate the game, so to speak.
And you're very correct in what you're saying there, but more importantly, what Al gives back to the young men, and boy, as far as character, he just continues to mold the character of people. And I learn something from him every day. And I'm not a young chicken, so I learn something from him every single day on how to treat people and do things right. And he just does a great job. We're blessed to have him.
So, Monty, good to see you again, my man.
Thank you, Tony.
And so, again, Rick, I'm jumping in here late, so I don't want to be redundant about anything. But in regards to those who are selected to be inducted into the Metro Hall of Fame, when you're talking about 139 years, everyone didn't go on to win gold medals, as we've discussed. Some folks didn't go on to win the NBA. There are a lot of folks who coached, a lot of folks who were athletic directors. For you, in an event like this, what does it mean to be able to have folks who are very instrumental and critical and crucial and perhaps in changing the lives of folks memorialized? The 139 years, and this is the second one, so there's a lot of people that we have to catch up with. And if you want to, in this process, you may, again, Rick, as you were kind of doing, mention some folks. We may not have heard their names, but are deserving of an award like this.
Oh, yeah. This is special. Last year, I wanted to be here last year, but my wife she ended up in the hospital, so she couldn't come. And so I was determined to be here this year. And one of the things I like doing is walking around, a gym or anywhere. The first thing I want to do is read about the history. And so you're right, Seattle Public Schools has a tremendous history. And for me to try to name somebody that might be missing would be, and yes, I've been around a long time. And that's fun because I've actually coached against Corey Dillon. Sheila, I was a track coach also, so I know the track people in here. When I first started coaching, Tara Davis was just a little sophomore girl down at Rainier Beach High School, and O'Day used to practice with them. And they had 6 or 8 people out there, and she was special then, and obviously her success now. So it's a thrill, believe me, because I know a lot of these people. They don't know me probably, but I know them because I've watched them, and over time, I love sport and I love the competition, but I love how it brings us all together, especially here in the city of Seattle.
Well, A lot of people do know you.
Well, I said, they may not recognize your face, but I'm gonna tell you what.
They know the name.
They know the name. They brought him over and said, "Well, this is Monty." I said, "Okay, Monty, what's your role?" And then I looked down. Oh, this is Monty Kohler. I know who you are.
You are.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Oh, no, yeah.
Well, you know, in that instance, it is sometimes good to be able to put a face with the name.
Absolutely.
Because we do hear about people and people like you who do what you do, and this is an opportunity again, even a circumstance like this. Smile for the camera. This is the face behind Monty Kohler.
There you go.
And Monty, and share with our listeners now. You've been head coach at O'Day since what year?
I started in the fall of 1985, so I finished my 33rd year there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
incredible.
I've seen a lot of tremendous athletes over time, and it's just like I said, there's a great history in Seattle, and this is special. You guys, what you guys do and what you're doing now. Getting this out and promoting the sports with the games on the radio. That's just, we're just tickled to be a part of it. So it's a great time to be a part of Metro Sports. It really is.
And I can't let you go without saying, and I hate to single out anybody, but a guy who I know his parents and was just happy to see the success that he had for you this year, and Jamin Patu. And I know you're proud of all of your players, but certainly a kid who believing in himself and made the decision he's going to walk on at the University of Washington.
Well, he's a scholarship athlete. I mean, he really should be. That's how talented he is. But talk about a quality person. I mean, if you know Jamin, you know that. I mean, he's a quiet leader. He's a man of conviction. He doesn't compromise who he is and what he is. It was a blessing for me to coach him, believe me, and he made us all better. Not just on the field, he made us better as people. And again, when you as a coach can learn from your players and your students, that's pretty special. And he's somebody I was able to learn from, so that was great.
Well, I tell you, it was a pleasure watching him in the WIAA championship games and break off some critical runs at critical times. What a performance all season long, and then also showing up big, when it was the big day when the lights were on as well. So congratulations.
Well, thank you, and you bet for him. And he's going to do well. He'll earn his scholarship, and he's going to be recognized out there. And I'm just tickled that he's here, and we'll be able to watch him kind of firsthand, up close and personal. So.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Again, congratulations to you. A great season and representing Seattle Public Schools, representing the Metro League. And it was just great to see the job that O'Day did, that you and your staff have done. And as you said, not only having great teams, but also building the character of young men. So congratulations.
Thank you. And thank you for everything you guys do.
Absolutely.
Right, thank you.
Monty Kohler here joining us on Rainier Avenue Radio. Again, if you just joined us, I'm Rick Dupree along with Tony B, and we're live at the 2018 Induction Ceremony and the Seattle Public Schools Athletic Hall of Fame. And Tony, you have touched on it. Just how special is this evening? Much needed, well-deserved, long overdue.
Yeah.
But recognizing, again, we do have, Seattle has some incredible athletes and individuals, men and women, that have gone on to impact not only this community, but our nation and our world.
Yeah.
And but again, starting at the Seattle Public Schools, from our hood.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to give a plug to us at RainierAvenueRadio.World. This is why we exist. This event would be taking place essentially in a phone booth, and no one would know about it.
Right.
And it is also an opportunity for us to thank the people who are helping and assisting us put this together. So I want to say thanks to Jazz Alley and the Pacific Jazz Institute at Jazz Alley, who believes in what we're doing and really wanted to make sure that they were there for us when we needed them. And then also Mondo Sons, the Bank-Harrell family. The Bank-Harrell family
85 years.
85 years.
I got that one down now, baby.
in South Seattle, Mondos and Sons. And so, and then at Jazz Alley, I think performing, very, very, people, Bryson, I know he'll be here on the 1st. And let's see here, because I can hear. Maybe Rick, I can't hear. I need these headphones on. Do you want to
go ahead and put the headphones on? I've got the headphones off because it's killing my ears. But we're being joined by a King County Council member, Larry Gossett, and Larry Gossett being. Let's help him with this. Let's see. Here we go. There we go. All right, Larry being recognized this evening. Yeah, I got a mic right here for him. There we go. hold that up because it's getting loud in here.
Okay.
But Larry, one of the 14 inductees being recognized. And so, number one, congratulations.
Thank you. I thought it was because I made All-America when I was a basketball player for Franklin High with your brother.
well, tell me about that game. Tell me about that game I was at that I don't remember. Larry
you were only 8 years old. You were amazed because I made every basket during the time you were there for about 13 minutes.
Yeah. So I was amazed that he shared that story. But all kidding aside, one of the things.
Good to see you again.
Yes.
Man, always a pleasure. And
likewise.
I don't know how you keep up the schedule that you keep up, because you are literally everywhere.
Thank you.
And on the other side of that, though, it is good to have that type of leadership that continues, where you're not just talking about it, but you are still out there. So thank you for being and doing all the things that you do. We can get back to this conversation now, but it's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's so much, Larry, we can talk about with you. But one thing I want to start out with, we talked to Amy Singh, we talked to Ernie Dunston, Ernie Dunston on the committee, individuals that are instrumental in this taking place. But they talked about not only recognizing individuals here and what they did in high school, but beyond. And I think you are the epitome of that, of accomplishments, your service to the community. Can you talk about that foundation that was built for you, that have that service? I mean, because there are so many things that you have done, but maybe starting at Franklin and that whole experience and how that helped shape who you are.
I just half-kiddingly mentioned to you that I at first thought that they had invited me because I made All-American in basketball at Franklin High School. But as I reflected back, I remember I was a starter, but I didn't quite reach those heights at that time. But I played with your brother, and historically speaking, I don't even know if you know this, the first game in the state of Washington that was ever played where two Washington State high school teams, varsity squads, were meeting each other, and every player was black, was the Franklin Garfield game, 1962, February.
Wow.
And the mayor, Gordon Clinton, was there. It was quite an event. However, as usual, even though we went double overtime, Garfield High School won the game.
Yeah.
You know, that unfortunately that legacy continued when I went to Franklin.
On the basketball court. Garfield.
It was always an intense game. And we at the last Garfield Franklin game, where Garfield was heavily favored. Franklin.
About what year? What year did you go?
This year.
No, I'm talking about this year. But I went in 78. I graduated 78. But at the game this year, Garfield was heavily favored, and as I was telling everybody, it doesn't matter when it's Garfield and Franklin.
Right. Yeah.
You can throw the rankings,
all that out. All three of us know that.
Yeah. Did you go to I was bussed out to Ingram.
Okay.
I should have gone to Franklin. I should have been a Quaker like you.
Yeah. And your brother.
Yes, all my brothers, I might add.
I
was part of the bus. Well, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm particularly honored because I'm not being recognized as an athlete tonight. I'm being honored as a great supporter of the athletic department and the public school system in Seattle. One thing that most people don't know is that I was elected. The first time I was ever elected to anything was in 1972 to serve on the Central Area School Council. And then as part of the Black Student Union and the Black Panther Party, we put the pressure on the school district to set up a decentralized school district in which people of color could have more control over the entire school district. All the schools are fed Garfield, and I thought we did a good job from 72 to 75.
Absolutely. Larry Gossett, our guest here on Rainier Avenue Radio. We're broadcasting live from the Washington Athletic Center here, the Athletic Hall of Fame, Seattle Public Schools, and Larry, one of 14 inductees here. And there, I think that says a lot about you as an individual. Even as a young man, your eye and your passion for social justice and for making sure that was something that was prominently in people's faces, and making sure that occurred.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about kind of what the motivations, especially as a young man, what motivated you and those things, why that was so important to you.
The signature experience in my life took place in 1966 and 67 when I joined Vista as a way of challenging going into the United States Armed Forces and Vietnam. I was lucky enough to be selected as a VISTA volunteer, and I was sent from Central Seattle to Central Harlem, and that ended up being the most profound experience that I ever had in my life, and I changed everything. How I looked physically, I got a big natural wore shades. Didn't talk about integration, but just talked about Black power. And when I got off the plane in Seattle in '67, my mother walked right by me because she had no idea.
Didn't recognize you.
And I told Mom that my name was Abba Yoruba, so I wasn't able to keep that.
Yeah, I don't think that went over too well with Mom.
No. But that, getting involved in the Black Power movement in Harlem was what got me committed. It's like, you hear pastors talking about they got called. In a sense, I feel I was called while I was in VISTA to be committed to the movement for social change in this community and in this nation.
Having said that, when you leave here and go on to your next destination, we're gonna bubble wrap you, bro, because this is the last living amigo,
right?
Of the four amigos, and that has been, having Roberto Maestes and Uncle Bob, and I never did
Bernie Wright there.
I never did get a chance to meet Bernie, but all of you have been very special to me personally, aside from the impact that you have. And so it's important, and I will say this every time, because we don't want to wait until you go. You know what I mean? We're still so happy to have you here, and Rick was talking about the accomplishments that you've done, the things in the lapel pin that you have here for folks who are looking.
Right. Yeah.
I had this vow to change this county's name.
Yeah.
It started in 1999 when Eddie Wright Jr. challenged me at the annual Martin Luther King Jr. March of '99. He said that in 1986. Ron Sims and Bruce Lane, two King County Council members, got a motion passed laying the foundation for renaming this county after Dr. King. And he says about time that we had some reflection of that. So he asked Councilmember Gossett, will you work to get the logo of King County changed from an imperial crown to an image of Dr. King? And we got it done in 2005. It took 6 years, but the persistence of the Black and third world communities in Seattle and throughout our region was something, and the progressive whites, and we got it done. I'm happy about this.
And Larry, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong.
I just want to get him in here real quick. Randall Morris.
Yes, sir.
Joined us for a football broadcast. And did an excellent job.
What a blast.
Yeah.
That was a good time. Rick, how you doing, baby?
I'm doing well. Looking sharp as always,
man, good seeing y'all, man.
Sir. Setting the example. You set the standard, baby.
But we got a visual for you. We're also streaming this time, so now that they can see the man this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bro.
Okay. Larry, right?
Yeah, Larry.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Good to be seen, man. I'm gonna let y'all do y'all thing.
Okay, and we'll grab you at some point, though.
Okay, that'd be good.
But I just saw I had to say, okay, let me pull the brother in here real quick.
Once again, Larry, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Okay.
Larry, we were talking, and I just wanted to say, I mean, you, as you talk about it, correct me if I'm wrong, King County here still remains the only county in the
not county.
nation.
This is how I explain it.
Yeah.
Our region, King County, is the only geographic jurisdiction in the world community named in honor of the late, great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
And with his image as...
And his image is on the logo of our government, and people love it. But when we first started the movement, they resisted.
Yeah.
Lots of people resisted.
Yeah, that is so critical. Can you talk about one last question for you, Larry, and just the significance of that? You talked about going to Harlem, how that changed you, and how important is it for us as a jurisdiction, as a region, to recognize, and for those of us that are of African American, how important is that? I mean, and for those young people to recognize the fact that this county is named for and recognized for Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.
Very important. But one thing that makes me proud, every junior high school, and college that I go to in this county and around the state, if young people didn't know about it and they hear me talk about it, they get very excited. So as a symbol of the need for progressive social change in our state and in our nation, it's very important that we're the only jurisdiction named in his honor.
Well, I'm gonna bring somebody else over here
and
too.
Eddie Wright Jr. for that. We're bringing another. Oh yes, another guest in here.
Which one?
Mr. Bailey, another Franklin,
Mario,
another.
Oh yeah.
Come on over here, Mario.
Another
Franklin, another Quaker over here right now.
I don't believe he was alive when I went there. Was you alive in '63?
That's why I wanted you to come over here for this quick. Get in here, Mario. So yeah, I wanted Franklin to represent.
I know, but I wanted to tell you that I went to high school with his mother. I went to high school.
You're starting to date yourself now. Larry, thank you so much. And again, congratulations to you. We really appreciate it, and all the best. So that was Larry Gossett, King County Council, inductee this evening.
Yeah. Pillar in our community.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, and now joining us, and we broke it here on Rainier Avenue Radio. The first inductee that we mentioned for this year was Mario Bailey. And for those of you that maybe don't remember Mario, great receiver.
Let's turn this way, Mario, so folks can see you. Okay, there we go.
I'm gonna give you the mic here, but Mario being recognized, and a couple of things I will say that I recall. Number one, not only as a great football player, great athlete at Franklin High School, but then part of that change at the University of Washington under Keith Gilbertson and that short passing game, and just a tremendous change under Don James. When I played under Don James, it was that I formation, your smash mouth, and really Mario was at the forefront of changing everything at the University of Washington. So again, recognizing you and saying congratulations and welcome to Rainier Avenue Radio.
Greatly appreciated it.
And let me give you some accolades.
Okay,
let me give you some accolades.
I'll take them.
Because even though I was older than you, and being at Franklin,
and I think you're still older than him. No,
I hope so.
No, let me leave you alone. Go ahead. Let me get some headphones.
The pride that our community had in knowing who the youth were, who were performing well, who were student athletes, who we wanted to go on and see better, man. So you had a support system, man, because of the way you carried yourself, the way that you handled yourself, and the way that you performed. Of people who were rooting you on behind the scenes, and man, we're just all extremely proud of you and what you've been able to accomplish. And then after you finished, the legacy that you established and coming back, and I have to mention again what you do at the Esquire Club. You feed people, you feed anyone who needs to be fed, anyone who wants to eat, and you continue to be someone who supports your community. You've coached, you've poured your heart back into this community. So, just know that there are, in addition to the people in this room, there are people out there who you don't know, man, who your leadership has shown and assisted and helped. And congratulations, my man. That's what made us so happy to get the word out about you first.
Man, it's greatly appreciated. Being from Seattle and being in a room full of these people is an honor and a privilege. I love giving back to my community, and what you touched on earlier about the support system. If it wasn't for my mother, my brother, and my aunts always being there to support me. I'm even friends with my high school basketball coach, my high school football coach. The Franklin Garfield rivalry, still talking about 30 years ago what happened. Just that type of community and the sense of pride that we have for Seattle when we go around the world. I'm just proud to be here, and it's an honor.
Well, when you saw the feed that went out and and you got all the congratulations, and I said, oh, well, look at everybody's congratulating. That had to what did it make you feel?
Well, it's a sense of pride that you have being from Seattle, and the community is always giving back to everybody, and they're always going to support everybody that came from Seattle and went somewhere and done something, whether it's in athletics, art, a lawyer, anything that you do, the people from Seattle support. So I wasn't surprised because I've always been supported by the people here in Seattle.
Mario, I'm curious, we've talked to a number of committee members and not only recognizing the inductees tonight for what they accomplished as athletes in high school, but also, and Tony mentioned a number of things that you're doing outside. How important is it for you to be recognized, not only for who you are as an athlete, but for who you are as a man? And as you said, that your mother, the family, the support system that you had that shaped who you are, and it's given you that passion to give back and to realize that you can make a difference.
It all stems from my mom. She's always been a very giving person, and she adopted my best friend. She adopted my cousin, became my brother. We actually recently co-adopted a 13-year-old cousin that was in foster care, but he now lives with me and her part-time. So she's always been that person. So to give back to the community was a natural thing. You know, once I got myself established and got it together, I knew I had to come back to the community. I started off being a coach at Franklin, and that told me right then that I liked being around my community and giving back. And then I started my foundation, and I thought on Thanksgiving they were just giving out turkeys that weren't cooked. And what's a homeless person going to do with a turkey that's uncooked? So I wanted all you can eat. So we started that, and now we have, in the last 5 years, we've fed over 1,500 families and people, and it's turned out great. And so I'm going to continue to give back because I feel like everybody doesn't have a giving heart, but I do. So I feel like God wants me to shine and do what he wants me to do.
Now, when you went back to Franklin, you didn't go back to a Franklin team that had 80 players trying out, and a full squad.
No.
You went back to a Franklin team to coach them. I mean, it was almost like you had to recreate the program.
Yeah, my coach had been there for almost 30 years, and I think he was tired, and the new generation is a lot different from when we were playing. People don't want to show up to practice. People don't want to go to school, and it's almost like they want you to beg them to come to practice. And at the time, we were in the Kinco League, and we're playing the toughest teams in the state of Washington. And for us, we were getting beat by 42 by halftime because they have 100 players, and we have 15 if we're lucky, that are eligible. So to get the program back on track, we got them into the playoffs for the first time in like 10 years. And then luckily, we went back to the Metro League where we could be more competitive.
Yeah. Mario, how important is, as you see the resurgence, and we talked to Monty Kohler a little bit earlier, but what was that like for you? What has that been like for you, especially the last couple of years, and this year in particular, where 3 of the 4 teams were from the Metro League in the semifinals, and then all Metro League final? That was phenomenal.
The best thing ever, because for football, they think, like I just said, like the best football teams are on the east side of Washington. But for us, as 3 out of the 4 to be in the Final Four for AAA was phenomenal. And to see an all-Metro League championship was even better. I'm looking forward to it because, like, when we used to play football, we'd get beat by 50, and then we play basketball and we would dominate them so that the crowd would start chanting, "Let's play football."
Yeah.
So I'm happy that they can't do that anymore.
Exactly. And out of those 3, we're talking Garfield, O'Day, and Rainier Beach. Yeah. So these are kids who grew up together, who hung out together, and got to participate in the Final Four.
Yeah.
That says a lot about our community.
No, it really does. And guys that play with one another growing up in Little League and against each other, to see that.
It's the best thing in the world to grow up with somebody and then get to play in the big game against them,
Yeah.
I tell people, like, when you play against your friends that you grew up with, you go out there to dominate them. You can be friends afterwards, but it's no greater joy than to beat up on your friends.
Yeah. Mario Bailey, one of the inductees tonight here at the second 2018 induction ceremony here for the Seattle Public Schools and Metro League. And Mario, you touched on this, but what when you found out that you were being inducted, kind of what went through your mind at that time?
Well, what struck me is he said it was like 163 or 160 some odd years of Seattle Public Schools, and that made me more impressed and proud than anything. But the first thing I had to do was tell my mom, because I feel like all of this is all for her. I get some enjoyment, but she gets more enjoyment, and I get the most enjoyment making her proud.
Absolutely. Mario Bailey, our guest here. And again, congratulations to you, my brother, and everything that you're doing, and continue to do it. And if individuals want to support your foundation, if individuals want to be involved with the turkey feed and what have you, how can they get involved?
You can go to mdbfoundation.org, and you can find out all the information on upcoming events, and you can be able to donate. But we haven't been doing as much because I do work for a program, King County, in which, I don't want to do something that would not be great for my actual job, but we still do events. We have a softball tournament coming up in July, and we're going to do a black tie event with a silent auction in the summer.
Excellent. Mario Bailey, thank you. And again, congratulations. And, man, well-deserved.
Thanks, fellas.
Before we go, I want to give you a chance to say whatever you want to say to people in Seattle for your final statement and just whatever you want to say.
I don't want to say nothing, but if you happen to be wanting to sell or buy a house, I do work for Keller Williams.
That's what I'm talking about.
So welcome to community radio, baby. That's how we do it.
That's what we do here. You need a spot? My man is hot.
Yeah. If you need a house, let me know. If you want to sell your house, let me know.
We may have to talk afterward, my brother.
Okay. Got to put it out there.
Again, Mario Bailey here,
Thanks for
one of the
joining us,
inductees, man. Appreciate it, and all the best and congratulations. Yes, sir. So again, Rick Dupree along with Tony B. We're here live at the Washington Athletic Club, and we are in the VIP of the VIP rooms with all of the inductees, and now the room is filling up, and so we'll be here for a little while longer.
So for those of you who are watching, you've seen the room go from kind of an empty room,
to now it is packed. It's packed. And so we'll be here, and then the ceremony will go upstairs. Where we have where we will have the dinner and the main ceremony going on up in the ballroom there. And so it will be taking once the program starts, we'll be taking it live. I believe if for most of the program we'll also
be live. It's
and
all live.
Well, when I say live, take it from live from the podium. And as we get the ceremony going on, and then we will also continue to get the inductees here, recognizing the inductees. I'm looking over here to see Paul Johns, former Seahawks player, and
there's
the Seahawks
everywhere you turn. We are
Yeah.
seeing folks. This is an incredible gathering.
And look at you got some Garfield.
Remember Karen Bryant? She's going to be.
And I've got to get here. Say Karen Bryant, my former boss when I was with the Sonics and the Storm. How you doing? Yes, it's it. All kinds of people. Al Harrison here. We're talking. I was saying,
how you doing, sir?
You have the Garfield contingency there. You have Bruce Harrell, Al Harrison, and JoJo Rodriguez. And they were in that Bulldogs. And how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. How you been?
We're doing well. Real quick, I just want to ask you, how long overdue is something like this? I mean, 139 years, Seattle Public Schools, and to be here and to recognize athletes here from the Seattle Public Schools. Talk about, from your standpoint, you have had a tremendous impact leading a dynasty over there at Garfield. But I mean, how important is it that we are now have a ceremony like this where we're recognizing the accomplishments of the athletes from the Seattle Public Schools?
Well, you asked me how long is it overdue, and it's been,
139 years.
139 years, so it's about 137 years overdue. Because we did do this last year.
Right.
Yes. And you got to give Eric his props, because he came in and put it all together. Him and Dick Lee put it together and make it happen. You ask yourself the question, why did it take so long? Why? I mean, this is Seattle.
Yeah.
This is Seattle Metro League. So that's the way it's supposed to be.
Well, and now when you take a look at the athletes that have come out of here, and again, not only looking at their athletic accomplishments, but the accomplishments in the community, in the state, around the nation, and the world. But when you look at that, I mean, as you said, Seattle has so much to offer, and so many athletes that have accomplished incredible feats, and so long overdue.
Very long overdue. But you can spread it out a little bit, because this area, this region is packed with athletes too. We got all kids coming out of Tacoma, kids coming out off the east side, but you go back to it. I think Seattle needs to set the standard. They need to be the leader in this whole thing, and I think we're well on our way to getting that done.
We were just having a moment here when Mario was here, and we were, showing Quaker pride, and Larry Gossett was here, and then just a moment ago you were talking about Garfield Bulldog pride. Tell me about the importance that, for you, that athletics play in a community, because these are bonds that people create that last a lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's true. You know, when I came to Seattle I came to Science in 1972, and I came to Garfield I came to Science in '68. Getting old, you know. And I started at Garfield in '72, and that was the thing that just really jumped out at me is how important athletics was. Because there wasn't a whole lot of positive things going on in the Central area at that time. You know, it was like the Central area. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so people kind of attached themselves to Garfield and the Garfield basketball program, and that was basically not the only, but a big part of the pride that was going on in the Central area was the Garfield basketball team, and I rode it to the max.
Absolutely. And remind me now, is it five state titles?
5 of them.
Yeah.
Them.
I mean, come on.
Now you see, as a Franklin Quaker, I can respect that because we always had to be on the other end of that big Garfield win that y'all took every year. Exactly. But it was always, however it went, after the game was played, there was always mutual respect and friends and still, you know, again, that relationship and that makes it special during those years that you form those bonds, that those memories last a lifetime. And now we have a place where we can honor those folks who participated so that those things are no longer lost. And the students who are in 2017, 2018 will have somewhere to go and reflect upon that school pride that they hear about these days.
You know, that rivalry between Garfield and Franklin, sometimes it got intense. You know, it was like if you go to the Franklin,
that's an understatement. I hear
you better get ready to get busy because if you don't, they'll push you out on Rainier.
That's the truth.
But I mean, it was a friendly rivalry. I mean, once it was over with, the game was over with. You know, it was like, okay, you got us this time, we'll get you guys next time.
Right.
And that's what it was all about. And the community took a lot away from that. You know, and I still have guys come up to me every day saying, you know, we should have got you guys at such and such.
Yeah.
Okay, we probably should have, but we got you.
Right. Well, Tony and I talk about, I mean, you have guys that they grew up together, guys that played together and then opposing one another. And so, again, like you said, I mean, it's certainly something you talk about. Bragging rights, you talk about, it doesn't matter who's ranked where. When you get in that Garfield gym, it's Garfield Franklin. You get in that Franklin gym, it's Garfield Franklin. You throw all that out the window.
Exactly. You know, if you didn't get there by the start of the JV game, you didn't get in.
That hasn't changed.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Rick has a story. Well, that was Garfield Beach. They weren't going to let him in the game. He said, "I'm supposed to announce the game." Well, not tonight.
Yeah. No game. They had to come out and say, "Oh yeah, he's doing the game. Let him in." Yeah.
I'm sure they heard that a few times. So everybody's going to be the announcer in the game.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. That's the truth. But Al Harrison, so talk about. I mean, you just have not only a building of great athletes, but as a coach, character of these young men as well, and talk about what if you walk away, what do you take away most from your experience as a coach? Edwin Bailey, how you doing?
How to Edwin?
How are you, sir? All right. But I mean, what do you take away as a coach, and what are some of the fondest memories, and what you accomplished as a coach in Seattle Public Schools?
Well, you as a coach, you hope you can make a positive difference in kids' lives. You know, I think everybody says that, and that's pretty much what it is. You know, you want to make a difference, a positive difference in kids' lives. I'm sorry, and that was my goal, is to, if a kid came to Garfield and went through our program and they got a good education and they developed their athletic skills and develop some life skills, some things that it takes to be successful in life, then that was my goal, is to have for them to leave the program with more than what they came to the program with.
Yeah.
And for the most part, that happened. Now, we didn't get them all. We lost some, and some dropped off by the wayside. But for the most part, they got it. You know, like I said, in 12 years out of Garfield, we played for 8 state championships. That's what I'm more proud of.
Yeah.
Not the 5 that we won, but the 8 that we played for.
Yeah.
And we made it to the state tournament 11 out of 12 years.
When you do something like that, and you mentioned that, you said you're proud of the 8, and people probably may think of the 5. What do the athletes, in your experience, take away
even if they did not win that state championship, what do they still take away that stays with them? Because that's a pretty major accomplishment. And what do you tell them to make sure that they understand that?
Yeah, well, it's one of those deals like you look at consistency. You try to build a program that's based on fundamental skills and sacrifice, and I want to play for my teammate. That whole concept. And so that's how you do that. And hopefully the kids left the program with the understanding that if they do that, if they make some sacrifices and set aside some of their goals and some of their skills for what was best for the team, and that's a life skill, right? That's a skill.
Absolutely,
that's a skill that you want to take into life. Then that's what you're looking for kids to do, is to be a part of what it takes to be successful.
Yeah, well, I think under your leadership, certainly saw, like you said, making to the championship, state championship so many times. But also, I want to just also reflect on many feel that that team that won in '74, probably the greatest high school basketball team in the state, in the history of the state of Washington.
Super Dogs,
yeah,
right?
the Super Dogs. And I mean, you go down that roster from top to bottom. When you have a team like that, I mean, what was it? Because you had great talent, obviously, but it takes more than great talent. What set that?
Well, let's set the record straight first. That wasn't my team. That was Fernando Mortigi's team. I was the assistant coach that year. Okay, so let's get straight.
Okay, all right. Well, you said that, but okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was a great basketball team. I mean, it still compared teams to the Super Dogs. JoJo's standing right here. He's like, don't talk to him about the Super Dogs.
I think he was a sophomore. So that's a starting point guard.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was Fernando Mortigi's team. But that was one of the best high school basketball teams I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
From top to bottom, all the way to 1 through 8. It didn't matter who you threw on the floor. He was going to get the job done.
But I think it's important to recognize it's great to have great talent, but I think we're going to, I'll say this last thing. Great to have great talent, but you got to bring them together as a team as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was my biggest challenge as a coach, is to convince them that, we got a lot of talent. Chris Ferguson, an example, he could average 35, 40 points a game. Okay, he ended up getting 22 points a game, and he made some sacrifices for the team, and that was probably the hardest thing I had to do as a coach, to convince them that they need to sacrifice some of their wants and some of their needs for what was best for the basketball.
Absolutely. Al Harrison, our guest here. Al, thanks so much. Again, thanks for being here, and good to see you as always.
Thanks for having me, Ray.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Good to see you. Where you at now?
Doing Rainier Avenue Radio, and then at Seattle Academy.
Oh, okay.
So thanks again. You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio. I think we're going to go live to the podium. So I will hush up, and we will go live to hear what is happening here at the Washington Athletic Club.
The WAC has supported amateur athletics in Seattle for 88 years, so I can't think of a better place to honor the class of 2018. So have a great time.
Also, a quick shout out for the Seattle Seahawks. They have been just wonderful supporters of us, and we have, I believe, 4 Seahawk legends who are here this evening. So hold your hands up, legends, and say, we really appreciate your support, so thank you. Okay, couple of quick announcements. We're going upstairs now to the 3rd floor Crystal Ballroom. There are 3 ways to get to the Crystal Ballroom. There are elevators right outside the door here. There's elevators a little further down the lobby, and there are also some steps that you can walk up. If you have a coat, and it's on the coat rack, we will move that coat rack upstairs so you can get it afterwards. To our inductees, we will have these signs available for you if you wish to take them home. And but anyway, I just want to, on behalf of Eric McCurdy and his team, Seattle Public School Athletics, Dr. Flip Herndon, Dr. Larry Nyland, several school board members that are here, thank you. Have a great evening. See you upstairs.
So again, if you just joined us, you're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio's live broadcast at the Seattle Public Schools Athletic Hall of Fame, the 2018 Induction Ceremony, 14 individuals being recognized. And, much long overdue. This is the second annual event celebrating 139 years of athletic accomplishments. So we are live. What we're going to do now, we're going to go we'll be back on the air when we head back upstairs to the main ballroom where the actual induction ceremony will take place, the dinner as well. I'm Rick Dupree, Tony B. Our whole team is here, James Street. We've got Paul Pearson, John Yasutaki, Karen Z. We're all here, and so we will come back and have more live coverage of this induction ceremony. So again, we're gonna move upstairs, and when we do that, we will not only again let you know who the inductees are, but then we will also have the actual ceremony. We'll take it live from the podium and hear that ceremony again live right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. So until then, we'll take a short break, and we'll be back with more from the Seattle Public Schools Athletic Hall of Fame 2018 induction ceremony.